What if the moon crashed into Earth? Goodbye, oceans. Imagine looking up and seeing the moon. Not our familiar, distant friend, but a monstrous, terrifying ball filling the entire sky. This is the new reality. The moon is on a collision course with Earth, and the final hours are ticking down. First, the oceans will literally boil away. Then, the very ground under our feet will turn to liquid. The silent guardian that's kept our planet stable for billions of years is about to become our executioner. It's not a question of if, but when. And the countdown has already started. So what really happens when our celestial partner turns into a world ender? It starts quietly. Astronomers make an announcement, and at first, everyone dismisses it as a crazy theory. But then, it's confirmed. The moon's orbit isn't just decaying, it's collapsing. It's no longer drifting away from us. It's falling toward us. In our what-if scenario, something has knocked it off its path, and Earth has just 1 year left. In the first few months, the changes hit the coasts hardest. The moon's gravity controls our tides, and as it gets closer, that pull gets stronger. Tides that used to be predictable are now chaotic surges. A regular high tide now becomes a city-drowning flood. Places like Miami, London, and New York are the first to go. They're simply given back to the ocean as millions of people are forced into a desperate scramble inland. But the water is just the start. The moon's gravity doesn't only pull on the oceans, it tugs on the entire planet. This growing strain on Earth's tectonic plates starts waking up the sleeping giants underground. Earthquakes become a daily event, and not just on fault lines, they happen everywhere. The Ring of Fire in the Pacific, home to most of the world's volcanoes, ignites in a chain reaction of eruptions, spewing ash that chokes the sky. The ground itself starts to breathe. Geologists call them earth tides, where solid rock swells and sinks by several meters every time the moon passes overhead. Humanity is, predictably, in a total panic. Global infrastructure crumbles. The world is no longer connected by the internet, but by a shared, growing terror of that impossible thing in the sky. Half a year in, Earth is barely recognizable. The moon is now just 100,000 kilometers away, a cratered giant that dominates both day and night. You can see its scars and valleys with your own eyes, a constant, chilling reminder of what's coming. The coastal cities? Their ancient history, buried under permanent supertides that have pushed the oceans miles inland. Tides now swell to 30 meters or more, creating tsunami-like waves that scour the coasts with every pass of the moon. Anyone who survived the first wave of floods and quakes has been pushed toward the center of continents, creating a refugee crisis that makes history books look quaint. The planet itself is groaning under the stress. The relentless gravitational pull has fractured Earth's crust. Volcanoes erupt non-stop, wrapping the globe in a thick blanket of ash that blocks out the sunday. This kicks off a sudden man-made winter. Temperatures plummet, crops die, and starvation becomes just as big a threat as the earthquakes. With no sunlight, photosynthesis grinds to a halt, and the entire global food chain collapses from the bottom up. Even Earth's rotation is changing. The moon's gravity is putting the brakes on our planet, and the days actually start getting shorter. This radical shift in speed whips up hurricane-force winds and violent, unpredictable storms across the entire globe. Our climate, once perfectly balanced by the moon, is now completely unhinged. Everything we call society is gone. All that's left is a brutal fight for survival on a planet that's tearing itself apart. If you find this apocalyptic journey as fascinating as it is terrifying, then you know what to do. Take a second to subscribe. We break down the most extreme what-if scenarios with real science every week, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. In the final week, the moon is so big it fills half the sky. You can see it moving. It's a creeping world-sized object of pure dread. Impact feels certain. But science has one last cruel twist for us. Earth isn't going to be hit by a single solid moon. It's going to be torn to shreds. As the moon crosses an invisible line called the Roche limit, the rules change. The Roche limit is simply the point where the gravity of a larger object, Earth, is stronger than the gravity holding the smaller object, the moon, together. For our system, that line is about 18,500 kilometers from the surface. The second the moon crosses it, Earth's gravity starts ripping it apart. The side of the moon facing us is pulled so much harder than the far side that the difference is enough to shred the whole thing. Cracks spiderweb across the lunar surface, splitting open into massive canyons. Entire mountains of moon rock are torn loose, and our beautiful satellite starts to disintegrate into a messy cloud of rubble. For a few horrifying hours, anyone left on Earth would witness an impossible sight: the violent death of our moon. What was once a perfect sphere is now a chaotic, sprawling river of rock and dust, thousands of kilometers long, and it's all heading straight for us. A single impact is no longer the main threat. Instead, Earth is about to fly headfirst through the pulverized remains of its own moon. The end doesn't come with one big bang. It arrives as a storm of pure annihilation. The shredded pieces of the moon, from city-sized asteroids to fine dust, begin to rain down on Earth. The energy this releases is staggering, way more powerful than all the world's nuclear weapons going off at once. As the bigger chunks hit, they blast open impact craters hundreds of kilometers wide. They trigger earthquakes that would break any scale we have and send shockwaves through the planet's core in minutes. The surface of the Earth is quickly transformed into a molten hellscape. But the most terrifying effect is what happens to our oceans. All that kinetic energy from the falling moon rocks has to go somewhere. As the debris screams through our atmosphere, it converts to heat. The sky itself ignites. The air temperature skyrockets so high that the surface of the oceans begins to boil. A colossal amount of water vapor is flash blasted into the stratosphere, creating a supercharged runaway greenhouse effect. This isn't a flood, it is the complete and total vaporization of Earth's oceans. The water that gave us life is boiled off into a thick, suffocating blanket of steam. In a matter of hours, the blue planet turns a scorched, lifeless brown. What isn't turned to steam is either thrown into space or buried under molten rock. The age of oceans is over. What's left is a world that's been completely remade. The initial bombardment lasts for days, but the fallout will last for millennia. Earth is now a scarred, pockmarked planet, wrapped in a dense, toxic atmosphere of vaporized rock and water. Much of the moon debris that didn't hit Earth right away settles into a spectacular and deadly new ring system, kind of like Saturn's. This ring of rock and dust would cast constant, moving shadows across the globe, causing temperatures to swing wildly and ensuring no stable climate could ever form again. And forget about escaping. Any survivors would be trapped under a lethal curtain of high-velocity shrapnel. The surface of this new Earth is a sterile, volcanic wasteland. The collision would have changed the planet's rotation and tilt, leading to seasons so extreme and unpredictable you couldn't even call them seasons. With the oceans gone, the water cycle is gone. Life as we know it is extinct. Maybe some hardy bacteria could survive deep in the crust, but for all intents and purposes, the planet is dead. The moon, our steady companion, is the silent partner that made life on Earth possible. It stabilized our spin, gave us seasons, and drove the rhythm of the tides that may have helped life first crawl out of the sea. Its own violent birth from a collision billions of years ago was a key chapter in our planet's story, and in this scenario, its death was the very last page. Now, the good news is, this is all just a wild thought experiment. In reality, the moon is slowly drifting away from us, at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters a year. Our celestial neighbor isn't a threat. It's a vital part of the delicate cosmic dance that keeps us alive, and a reminder that the stability we take for granted is an incredibly precious gift. What other cosmic catastrophes should we explore next? Let us know your ideas in the comments below. And if you want to keep diving into these mind-bending scenarios, make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell. Thanks for watching.